Afternoon, everyone, and welcome to our first ever live stream LCD quarterly town hall. I'd like to introduce you to our guests today. We have Erica Hurst, our president. We have Cortland, our VP of Finance. We have Joe Fay, VP of Operations. Laurie Peterson, our HR VP. And we have Nikki Burbage, our VP GM. So the agenda, there'll be a welcome, and then we're going to go into a Heysham Spotlight presented by myself and Nikki. We will have a President's Priority and State of Business from Erica, and then a Finance and Operations update from Cortland and Joe. Then we'll go into HR for Laurie, and then there'll be a call to action from Erica, and then there'll be a Q&A at the end. So there'll be a brief video, and we'll just start it now.
Hello and welcome to Thermo Fisher at Heysham. We're situated on the northwest coast with the sea as our backdrop.
Specialising in small-scale, multi-step, multi-batch chemistry, we develop new chemical processes,
Carry out custom synthesis, inorganic, organic, organometallic and chiral chemistry, as well as specialising in analytical quality control.
Our operation consists of a variety of highly skilled teams.
including chemical manufacturing, quality, repack, warehousing, dispatch and new product development, to name a few.
We are world leaders in serving science and seek to enable our customers to make the world healthier, cleaner and safer.
But the heart of Heysham is our people. We pride ourselves on creating a sense of belonging on site.
And our people are helping lead the way through our established Pride and Possibilities groups.
With over 160 people on site, we're lucky to be able to celebrate our cultural differences, backgrounds and experiences, which help us better our performance, as well as work together to grow as a community.
Our passion is second to none, with our teams not only driving science in our roles, but also driving STEM education at our site.
Engaging children and young people in STEM, as well as supporting our local community, is very important to us, which is why we are striving to become the STEM Centre of Excellence.
Team Heysham, improving our community through passion and innovation.
So we'll just go into a Heysham Spotlight. So the Heysham site, we currently have 156 employees, and the site was established in 1994. The Heysham site's history, we were originally a storage site for diesel for the local docks in the 1950s, and again Avocado Research Chemicals we took over in 1994. We then obviously developed it, started off as a porter cabin, and then Johnson Matthey Alpha is our brand. In 2015, we merged became part of Thermo Fisher LSG operations. So again, the site has grown a hell of a lot over time, and we have a lot of opportunity at Heysham. I'm going to pass you over to Nikki about the heart of Heysham.
Thank you. Thanks, Neil. So you heard a little bit in the video about the work that they're doing and all the improvements that we're making, but the heart of Heysham is really the people, and I think Bill hit it on the head with what he said in the video. It's about making sure that everyone comes to work, enjoys coming to work. We spend too much time at work to actually not enjoy it. And it's about making sure everybody brings their self to work. They don't have to hide, they can be their normal self. And diversity and inclusion, it's also embracing the differences that we all have so that we really can make a difference. And we need to do that for ourselves as well as our customers. So we've got the Possibilities BRG, which is really looking after our mental health, but it's also bringing our families into it as well. We've got a lot of engagement going on in the community and in our families. So it's great to see things like everybody going for the hill walks with the dogs. It's really good to see the kids going along with the dogs. Pride Plus is a really, really big thing for us, and it's something we're actually leading the way in Europe. So it's really great to see Rob and the team actually doing all the work with the European and the US teams. But then really, the latest one we're looking at is how to bring that more to the community. How do we get science to the next generation, because we all love coming to work, but how do we bring the next generation in? So we've now got the STEM ambassadors. Several of the team have joined the ambassador program, and we're going to be looking to get out into the community. Youngsters, getting them engaged in science and technology and engineering and maths. We need them all. So the finance role, we need our maths, so it's an important piece. So really engaging with all different levels to bring in the next generation of us. So we keep this going from strength to strength of the site. So that's going to be the next generation. So I guess I can hand over to one of our newest members of the team. I'll hand over to Erica.
Great, thanks so much, Nikki. So I'm incredibly excited to be here. This is my 6th week, I think, or 5th week as the president of LCD. And this is actually our first live stream town hall. So I think it's incredible to be in Heysham. It's great to be with this team, and it's great to introduce this new way of doing town halls to everyone. So I want to go over our 2022 goals, because we still have the same goals that we did at the beginning of the year. We've progressed on them, and I'll talk a little bit about what went well in Q2 and what did not go well that we can improve on for the second half of the year. So from a customer perspective, our goal is still to improve the customer experience. We want to, again, make it easier for our customers to buy and sell chemicals. So we're continuing the enhancements that we've talked about for the last, I'll say it's more than this year, to enhance our channels and our work with Fisher, with VWR, with all of our channels globally, but also to simplify our portfolio. There's been a lot of work to make sure that we have the right SKUs for our customer, and that's actually meant eliminating SKUs from our portfolio and making it easier. There's also been a lot of other improvements that we've done from a regulatory compliance, customer satisfaction, and customer service piece with our customers that will continue for the rest of this year. From a colleagues and culture perspective, we are continuing to drive that customer-centric culture of accountability, engagement, trust, and belonging. You'll hear a couple more pieces from the rest of the leadership team today around belonging. But we really want to continue to be a business that attracts, retains, and develops diverse talent. We'll talk more on the next slide around PPI and safety, which continues to be our #1 priority. From a revenue perspective, we've put in a lot of different capabilities over the last 6 months, more than a year actually, to accelerate growth, and a lot of these have been digital capabilities. So we want to continue to do that, continue to work cross-divisionally, and really make sure that we're using the full company of Thermo Fisher to sell our products. And then from a profitability and cash flow perspective, I think a lot of you, hopefully on the town hall, have been in a PPI this year. If not, I highly recommend it. But we're continuing to prioritize PPI and to boost operational excellence and productivity across all LCD sites. So we really want to do this for a couple reasons. One, to improve material availability, assurance of supply, and cost savings. But that assurance of supply piece has been really, really critical for us. There is no better way to ensure that we keep and retain customers than to make sure that we can make the product that they want and actually get it to them in a timely fashion. So I'll spend a little bit of time talking about leadership priorities. So for me, coming into this business, the biggest priority that I have is safety. Safety starts with me, starts with you, and it's safety first always. So that's the culture that we want. We want to make sure that the way you come into work in the morning is the same way that you go home every evening. PPI is also a great priority for the business. We want to find a better way every day. There's going to be some time management pieces that come out in September that the team can really utilize to make sure that you're finding that better way, but also that you're using your time wisely. And I hope that a lot of you have used Rever. LCD is actually the highest user, I think, within the LS LPG network. I would high five you, but I know we're all remote. And then from a colleague's perspective, we have this personal accountability and action-oriented culture. We want to make sure that we keep it. So PPI actually does empower that personal accountability piece. And we want to make sure if you see something, if there's something that you want to improve wherever you work, that you can do that. You'll also start seeing, and I know Lori will speak to this later on, a lot about EIS, our Employee Involvement Survey. That will be launching in October. And then I sit here in Heysham today with some of the greatest BRGs that we have in the division, having just spent some time talking to our BRG leaders. It is one of the greatest ways that we have to actually engage our colleagues around the world. So very excited to continue that journey with the division. And then communications. So we are a division that likes to talk to each other. I think we have probably the best Yammer site of any division that I've seen. We want to make sure that we keep that going and that we're continuing to share things, best practices, anything that we can across the sites. It'll really help us grow as a business. So I'll cover a couple of Q2 highlights. So what we did well. So in this inflationary market, we did a really good job with price realization. We were actually able to get a lot of price and able to really move the business forward from that perspective. We also had great catalog growth in North America, which really did help the business quite a bit in Q2 maintain high growth. I also really want to thank the China team. I think a lot of you know that China, especially Shanghai, was locked down for most of Q2. And they did a fantastic job of actually opening up in June and getting most of their AOP revenue out in June. So if you can imagine staying home with your family for 2 months, being locked down, and then actually getting out everything that they could in June, it was an incredible effort from the team. And then really the Bridgewater transformation progress has been incredible to see. I'm not sure how many of you have seen some of the pictures that the team has posted on Yammer, but it's been a great site transformation. Everything that's gone on there has been just incredibly transformative for the site and incredibly transformative for our operations. So I highly recommend that if you see it on Yammer, take a look. It's been just an awesome project to see. We still have areas for improvement. So we did have 2 lost time incidences in Q2. So we always have to be cognizant of safety. These were around ergonomics and actually forklift safety. So we always want to make sure that we're thinking about those things as we go forward. We also did have some EMEA catalog softness. We are seeing and hearing some things about EMEA as we go through, went through the end of Q2 and into Q3. So we want to make sure that we're watching the region and doing everything we can to satisfy our customers. We also have some high inventory levels. So I think our operations teams, our factories have been doing a lot to make sure that we have good inventory. We need to make sure that we can actually go sell that, and our commercial teams are capitalizing on those high inventory levels. We have had material availability and inflation challenges across the business. I think the teams are doing a good job of combating those, but that's something that we really need to keep watching as we go into Q3. I will now hand it over to Cortland to talk about our financial performance.
Thank you, Erica. Good morning, good afternoon, and evening, team. Glad to be with you again after another very strong quarter. As we all know, in using a sports analogy, no team, can be successful without the efforts of the entire team. So these results that I'm going to share with you are indicative of our over 1,500 colleagues across the globe, across all functions, and able to really deliver above plan performance for yet another quarter. For the quarter, we delivered nearly 13% organic growth on the top line revenue, above plan. Now, we were very ambitious in our last forecast for the quarter because we were planning to deliver a little bit above that, and there were some reasons, including the EMEA catalog softness that Erica mentioned previously, that ended up being a little bit less than we had forecasted, but overall very strong performance relative to our plan. Also, as Erica mentioned, we are battling inflationary challenges, and I don't have to tell anyone on this call the pressures that we're facing, not only as a company, but in our individual lives when it comes to inflation. That's why we fell a little bit short of our EBITDA target for the quarter, at 15.9%. But I will tell you, when it comes to top line revenue growth and our bottom line EBITDA growth, year to date, first half of the year, we are tracking ahead of plan on both of these metrics. You can see briefly how we performed both business units, LAR and FCP, above plan. And Americas and APAC had a very strong quarter above plan. And again, we spoke to the EMEA challenges relative to some of the market conditions as well. Again, very strong performance from the organization. And as hopefully you guys have seen, Thermo Fisher as a whole had a phenomenal quarter as well. If you have not had an opportunity to look at the little piece, the interview that Mark Casper did last week on Mad Money, a show in the US that's posted on iConnect, I highly encourage you to invest that 7 minutes to watch that interview because it was very enlightening on not only our second quarter performance, but our outlook for the rest of the year and what that means. And rest assured, LCD is very instrumental in including the positive growth profile because we indeed are well positioned for another strong year. So with that, I'm going to hand over to Joe, who's going to give a little bit more insight from an operations perspective.
Great, thanks, Cortland. So Erica mentioned it earlier, our involvement in PPI, so our Practical Process Improvement Business Systems. There was a call to action at the start of the year from our team, our leadership team, and also from the corporation as a whole to really embrace PPI in everything that we do. And so it really is a core part of our overall culture of continuous improvement. And that really comes down into 3 distinct categories. I want to really highlight quality and the real improvement and requirement to consistently deliver world-class products and services. And as the team has said, everybody's involvement in the success of what we do within the division, the customer really feels that. Everybody has ownership in that, and PPI and business system improvements can really drive that quality. You have to feel that when the customer holds our product in their hand, when they feel the impact of our service, and we have a very short cycle service, high expectations, how we improve that delivery to the customer and the quality that we deliver can really be driven by our PPI improvements. Productivity is key, as we know. We're entering into a high inflationary environment, and we're always looking for better ways to do things, faster ways to do things, more cost-efficient ways of doing things as well. Again, PPI can be the tool that really aids us helping drive that process efficiency and strengthening our competitive edge as well in that competitive environment. And this team in Heysham has done a fantastic job, and as a division, we are performing above where we were hoping to, and so it's really fantastic engagement and using PPI in that area of productivity. And thirdly, again, focusing on that customer engagement, that customer allegiance, and how we want to exceed expectations to maximize our customer success. Again, everything that we do here within the division, whether it's transactions in service, whether it's repacking, whether it's labeling, whether it's manufacturing, our customers really feel that. So that call to action at this halfway point through the year, we've gained great momentum in using PPI in everything that we do, and we want to continue that journey as we go throughout the year and beyond, because it's really a key part of our culture and really key to our success. So in addition to that, the Reva tool is something that is new for this year, and I think as Erica mentioned earlier, that as well as great engagement through Yammer, the LCD team has been one of the highest participants in the Reva tool. And if you haven't heard of it, it's a new platform that we're using for capturing PPI activities, projects, so that we can not only document them, so we've got a good record of the successes that we're able to do, but it actually is a great way of having collaboration within the division, within your teams, but also outside of the division as well. So it really makes the world a smaller place, and so problems that you're solving in your own department, in your own site, like here in Heysham, then you can also connect with other teams around the world easily, share advice, share best practices as well. Share those learnings so that we can leverage the full power of every employee and colleague that we have within the corporation. So it's really about driving consistent processes, documenting them, using that tool in a connected way, and strengthening that use of the PPI culture and collaboration throughout the division. So it's a very exciting, easy to use application. You can use it on your desktop, you can use it on your phone or mobile device, And if you've not used it already, and I think given the uptake and the volume of revers that we've seen within the division, I think most people have already used it, but we're only going to continue to see that being of more benefit for us as a team as well. So with that, I'll hand over to Laurie, who's going to take us through some human resources updates.
Thank you, Joe. So every year we start off the year getting the goal tree cascaded from the top down, and every employee enters their goals into Workday in most countries. And from there, you have a mid-year review. So it is mid-year time. A task opened in July. So you'll have an opportunity to sit down with your manager and talk about how you're progressing against your goals to date, and get feedback on how do you close the gap if you are behind in some of those goals. This is also a good opportunity to make adjustments to those goals. So if things are no longer relevant because priorities changed, so work with your manager on making sure you're updating and editing those goals, or adding to or taking away due to priority shifts. All of these actions, so your self-assessment as a colleague, the manager and you sit down, have a feedback about your performance to date, as well as your development. This is also really important. Everybody remembers the PM portion of PMD, but there's also that D for that development. So ensure that you're having robust development goals. And if you don't get that conversation from your manager, demand it. How do you get better at your current job, and what do you need to do to get to the next job? If you don't know what that is, this is a great conversation. All actions need to be taken in Workday by September 9th. EIS, Erica talked about it a little bit earlier, our employee involvement survey. Every year around the October, November-ish timeframe, launches a task for colleagues to come in and provide feedback to the company. We do this on an annual basis, and I think there's about 40 some or so questions where you can rate your experience. Whether it's about safety, your supervisor, development opportunities. Then we take that feedback and we analyze it. How did we do? Did we improve our scores? Did they go lower? Did they stay the same? And then there's an opportunity to provide comments. And guess what? We read your comments and we take action on your comments. And just here in Hisham alone, hearing some of those things, like I know a new canteen's going to come open, it came from EIS. I'm excited about the new female changing rooms that are going to come next week as well too. There was also feedback here to that the colleagues wanted more leadership on the floor. So a lot of actions have happened, and sometimes we forget to celebrate some of those things that we listened, right? So we have a new visual signage campaign coming out, and you'll be seeing it soon. So those things that we took action based on your feedback and your comments will come out either in these posters, which is the top picture, or stickers. So you'll see these stickers in a variety of different sizes around your locations that said EIS in action. So I'm looking forward to seeing that visual representation of things that we've implemented based on your feedback. And lastly on my part here is belonging. We spend a lot of time at work. We spend a lot of time at home. Sometimes there's not the right balance we all want, but in either situation, you want to feel like you belong. We come from different backgrounds, we're different ethnicities, genders, beliefs, whatever it is. You want to feel a sense of belonging. It's human nature. So last year we launched our first belonging activity. I hope you all participated in it, and it was so successful we're doing it again this year. So September 8th through 14th will be a number of different activities being rolled out, so you'll see more and more information on that, and I encourage you to participate. So each day there'll be a different theme. So day 1 is on trust and some activities for you to get involved in. Day 2, community, followed by connections, 4I values, and ending with belonging. So I encourage you to take part of it, have conversations with each one of your colleagues, and make sure that you feel that sense of belonging. And I'm going to hand it back to Joe.
Oh, back to me. So I'll take this opportunity to do a shameless plug on the back of belonging as well, and BRGs. Something that we've developed within the division, and something that's got a very personal connection to myself, is the development of the Pride Plus at LCD concept. So as Laurie was saying about the BRGs, it's really a kind of business resource group, an employee-based resourcing group where we can collect together, people of similar thought processes, ethnicities, and Pride Plus is very much something about inclusion and belonging of our LGBTQIA plus community and allies. Thankfully, it's been rebranded, renamed as Pride Plus, so you don't trip over the alphabet when you say it. But it's a relatively new concept for us. It's a relatively new concept for Thermo Fisher as a whole, because traditionally the BRGs have been very chapter focused, and often that can mean that it's very site focused. But we have a population outside of the sites, and sometimes we don't always have the center of gravity of the number of people at an individual site. So we wanted to have something that was broadly across the division. And the team here in Heysham have got a fantastic local charter of Pride Plus, led by Rob, and really grown, from the ground up at this site, really leading, pioneering, and leading by example. And so we wanted to take a lot of the great aspects of that and scale it for the other sites to feel something that can be an uncomfortable subject, and to break down, some of those barriers so that everybody had that sense of inclusion and belonging. Now, it's both for people who want to identify and be very open and public about that, but also people within our teams who are allies. And that allyship, like myself, I have a family member, my daughter identifies, and I wanted to feel that myself personally, I could come into the work environment as an ally and bring my full self to the work environment. And so that allyship is also incredibly important, not just in the Pride Plus BRG, but across all of BRGs. So whether you feel like you identify, or whether you feel you just want to be supportive, or whether there's a family member, then that's also key. So I would very much encourage you to get involved and learn more about it. And one of the key parts of what we want to do as part of the Pride Plus LCDs is really help educate people on some of the issues within that community. A lot of it is fun, a lot of it is about empowerment and true pride, but there's aspects there about prejudice in the workplace, about mental health issues that can be connected with that. So we want to really break down and educate on some of those taboo subjects as well. So it is early stages, and we've developed a SharePoint site where you can go and find links to resources elsewhere both within Thermo Fisher and outside of Thermo Fisher. Like I say, it's in its early stages, but I'm so proud to be the executive sponsorship of this. Like I say, it's a very personal subject for me, but I've had nothing but support and engagement from the teams here and the teams across the corporation. So it's been a real pleasure. So I'll pass over to our call to action with finishing off with Erica.
Great, thanks so much, Joe. So we'll finish up with a call to action and a few other things for us to think about as we head into the rest of Q3. So we want to make sure that everyone takes care of each other. Safety will remain the #1 priority that we have for the division. We're all responsible to ensure that we keep ourselves and each other safe. We really want to drive towards 0 recordable incidents, and everyone owns a piece of that. From a PPI perspective, we want to make sure that we're using our customer-centric culture to using PPI and Rever to actually go beyond what we've done. So find a better way every day. We want to make sure that we're action-oriented problem solvers, and that if we see something, we feel empowered to actually change things. And then colleague engagement. I think you heard a lot today about EIS. You heard a lot about the BRGs, resource groups. You heard a lot about what's going on here in Heysham. We want to make sure that we support all of those activities, and we continue to support the onboarding and development of new colleagues. We want to make sure that people come and join us and they actually enjoy being here, and we support them as they grow in the company. So join a business resource group, join a community action council, get involved. I think Joe has shown you a way too, if you're a remote employee, to get involved as well. And we also want to make sure that people communicate openly. We'll have questions and answers at the end of this session, but we'll also we have Yammer, we have a lot of different ways that you can figure out to talk to us and to get your ideas out there. And as the takeaway on the slide says, we all play a critical role in the success of our division. And as Cortland said earlier, we had a very successful Q2. We want to make sure that we have a very successful Q3 and Q4 as well. So I think you all have seen these before. These are the 5 keys to our success in LCD. So we always say safety first, customer always. So right, safety is the driving force for all of us, and our customer is why we come into work every day. We also want to make sure that you're being a problem solver and that you're not complacent. We hear a lot from town halls with Mark Casper about the one thing that worries him is really complacency. And since I've been in this business, I've just seen a lot of people that are very excited to try new things and to never sort of take the status quo as what should be. And so I'm excited because I think this is a division of problem solvers. We also want to be ambitious and accountable. So make sure that we have the right goals in place and that we all feel accountable towards them. Focus on what you can control, and I think that's a great way of thinking, especially with PPI. And live by the LCD way, which is a lot of these 5 keys to success. I want to leave you with a last piece around our ethics and business integrity training. So that is actually due on September 30th. So I hope there are 2 pieces this year. It's a little different than last year. They're breaking it up. I want to make sure that everyone is actually working on those trainings. I know I was on the shop floor in Giel on Monday, and they were actually working on that as a part of their day. So I want to make sure that everyone realizes this is incredibly important and that we all want to make sure that we do this training. So before we open it up to questions, I just want to thank everyone. Again, we had an incredible Q2. We really think we're going to have an incredible back half of the year. That slide that we showed earlier is still true. LCD is one of the fastest growing divisions that we have in the company, and we want to keep that going. So thank you all so much. With that, I'll invite Neil back up, and we'll stand up, and we'll invite questions from the audience here as well as from YouTube. I think we have a microphone going around, and then any questions online.
I'll kick off the questioning if that's okay, because people are shy to start with anyway. So it's Lindsay. Thank you for joining everybody at Hesham. I'm sure Neil and the team have really appreciated your time here. I'd be really interested to understand what your first impressions are.
Okay, so the question was, what are our first impressions of the site? So I think maybe we can go this way. Lori, if you want to start.
I've been here before. So, I would say my second impressions of the site is that it's always great to see change and constant improvement. I was here in March, and I come just a few months later, and you can just see continued improvement, embracing of PPI to drive change. I'm always blown away at the engagement and the enthusiasm through, whether it's through BRGs or just the enthusiasm from the team in general, and the fantastic backdrop of the outside and the weather is always fantastic as well. So, sorry, there you go.
Yeah, no, because besides just having a beautiful location here, is what my first impressions is the pride that comes from everybody that we've had a chance to meet with today, and what your leadership team says about those that we didn't have a chance to meet today. Whether it's through the BRGs, how you've transformed the culture, the investments that you've made to the facility, the future ideas that you have and where you want to take the business and grow from here. It was just fantastic to hear. And this will not be my last stop here. Hope to come back quite a bit, but I'll walk away with quite a great impression of the site, the colleagues, and the future.
Great. For me, much of the same, but first time for me, and again, this was something for almost 3 years, over 3 years with the company. I was definitely looking forward to getting out here because I heard a lot about the site, but until you actually get the experience up close and personal, it's just not the same. So again, the level of engagement, is great. The other thing that struck me quite a bit as we went through the facilities and the shop floor and talked to various colleagues is we are so connected and alike across the division. And I think we need to leverage that better, because when I walk through, it's very similar to other sites that we've seen earlier this week or, back in the States. So I think being able to leverage the collective strength of our organization is only going to allow us to, accelerate, where we're headed to really achieve some of these fundamentals that are part of the LCD way. It's been a great experience.
Yeah, I echo a lot of the comments that the team made. So my favorite takeaway or my favorite part of being at the site was definitely the people. It was fantastic to meet all of you in person. And I think the people are what makes every site special. And I think this site in particular has an incredible culture. And it's great to see that. And to Cortland's point, we have, this is our third site this week. We were in Geale earlier this week. We were in Loughborough yesterday. There are a lot of great things that every site is doing that are just amazing to see in person. We would love to be able to share those. And we see some of them on Yammer. It was great to come here and actually say, I saw that on Yammer. I saw the wheel of PPI on Yammer. And it was, it was great to see it in person. But there are so many different ways that we can actually share all of those best practices, not just in Europe, but in North America and with our APJ colleagues as well. So I'm excited to kind of go back and figure out how we can do more of that. And they sit here all the time, so you don't have to answer. Yeah.
What I will say is, to Joe's point about there's always something happening here, I went on holiday for a week and things changed. It's the speed at which we enact and we really get on with it. We're not complacent, we just move on quickly at the site. So it's phenomenal to see the changes.
Great.
Thank you. So, what challenges, if any, is the company facing with inflation? And do we have plans or a department or a team where we've put together to tackle? Or I know you mentioned earlier on about PPI improvements. So is there anything else?
Go ahead.
Oh, sure, I'll take that. Thanks for the question. So again, the question is really, given the inflationary environment and the challenges, what's being done either at a division or a company level to deal with that. So first at a company level, yes, we mentioned PPI as a way to help offset the impact that we're finding as a company. But when you think about what else we're trying to do, we're trying to make sure that when it comes to the appropriate pricing of our products, where we have the opportunity to make sure that we're, if you will, sharing that pain when it comes to passing on some of the inflation that we're experiencing, especially from a material and a freight and transportation perspective, through to the customer base. That's why, again, price realization for us as a division this year has been extremely strong, and that's part of the execution of the commercial team to make sure that we are being fairly compensated for our products and services. On a personal level, when it comes to us as employees, what the company is doing, as you've seen, in several regions, there have been inflationary bonus payments, if you will, to help offset some of that. So at a company level, it is understood that, again, we are feeling this as individuals and it impacts our personal life. So one of the things that the company is very committed to when it comes to the fairness and the compensation of our employees is to make sure that we're doing what we can to make sure that we remain competitive when it comes to that. So again, that's really the way I look at it when it comes to some of the things that we're doing to try to help the situation. Thanks for the question.
Thank you. Yes.
What are the plans, both short and long term, for growth within the division?
That's a good question. So actually, while we have Nikki here, we should have you ask CP.
So what we actually do is, and a lot of people are involved in it, is a 5-year strategy plan. So we build what we think is going to happen in the market, and then we target specific segments. So if we think about FCP, we have got organic synthesis as a big area that we're targeting. Metals and materials and the industrial markets, and then also the life sciences. You know, we all moved to thermofisher.com. Actually leveraging thermofisher.com and that huge website and all the customers is a key part of our growth strategy. So that strategy plan that's 5 years leads us into the AOP each year. We revise it and we grow it. So there's a lot of different areas that we're thinking out about in the commercial world, what we're going to do in terms of targeting different customers, and then we've got on the operations side, how are we going to get to that growth? So that's something that the whole team's involved in, and we're not going to be one thing that's clear, we're not going to be able to go after every single customer in every single segment. We need to target, and that's how we'll grow.
I will just add that we will do a strap presentation. We just wrapped up the strap season with corporate and all of that. So we will actually do a presentation for everyone in mid-September. So look for that invite. It'll be a similar kind of style to this town hall. We won't be here to do it in person, but we will present it out to everyone.
Yeah, and I would say from an operations point of view, the growth is here, and we're projecting forward. And so we're making investments in the division in a way that we've never historically done before, but we're being prudent in the way that we're going about doing that at all of the sites. But we're doing it in a way that we can scale, so that we can capture the growth that we have right now and be there for future growth that's coming, but that we don't overstretch ourselves and end up in a situation where we're burdened with overcapacity and things like that. So we're making really timely and prudent investments, but in a way that we've not done previously in the division as well. And that's not just in infrastructure, that's in people as well. I think all of the site teams and across the whole of the division, we've seen additions to talent and our colleagues around the globe. Great question.
Right behind you.
From a people's perspective, does the division have a plan for cross-site training?
So I think it's something was eye-opening to all of us more this week than what we have in the past. Is there's so many best practice sharing that's going on in each site, and our questions are, have you talked to so-and-so in this location? And it was like, no. And so we need to do a better job of identifying what are those things that you can learn from a different site, or even just a different division within your own site or somebody remote, and make those connections and make those dots. In terms of, going to another country and living for a while, like on an expat or something like that, it would have to usually technical emergencies, or somebody needs on a leadership skill to get to a next level. But it is something that absolutely we need to continue to do more and more, and it was just more and more relevant for us this week. Where do you want to go?
So you kind of touched on it there, and you touched on it in the presentation with Yammer and Riva. But how do you think we can leverage other Thermo Fisher sites to share best practice?
I think there's no barriers. I think they're virtual, within the division and elsewhere. I've been in Thermo for just over a year, and whether I've known people or been introduced to them or kind of cold contacted them, no one's ever said, hey, no, I've got no time, I'm not going to help you. So I think the barriers are virtual. You just want to be able to work through them, be proactive, create cross-functional teams, share best practice, wherever you can. So, like I say, I think they're virtual.
Also, yeah, great discussion to have with your manager during your mid-year review, right? Like, what is it that you want to learn to do better at your job, and then, or get to the next job, whatever that may be. And there could be people who are helping you, because the best way you develop is 70% on the job, 20% from others, and 10% formal learning. Right. Is that 20% is, what do you need to learn from somebody else, and how do we get you connected, whether it's virtually or in person, or old school over email, but what is it that nobody's going to stop you? And if it's outside of the division, absolutely happy for that as well too. I know I came from a different division. My first year I had my head down. The second year I was like, let me learn about other areas of Thermo Fisher, and just started putting meetings on. Erica, it was like 2 years ago, somebody had set me up with just a 30-minute one-on-one with her, and next thing I know, 2 years later, we're both in the same division together.
But to your point, Laurie, don't leave it just to your manager. Reach out, because I've connected people marketing-wise into other parts of the business who are further advanced in their digital programs. Reach out and ask people. I think asking for that connection, you'd be amazed at how many people have those connections for you.
I'll also say that we're starting to travel a lot more. We're here. We're committed to actually doing a town hall at a site every quarter with a live stream like this. So that traveling is starting to pick up. Nikki had a team meeting here earlier this week. So did Andrew, who's our commercial leader for Europe. Patrick O'Leary right now is in New Jersey having a team meeting at our sites there. So all of that, you know, take advantage when people come to the site to actually meet them, because there'll be more travel now.
So just from the chat, Jamie Farrell has asked, working and putting plans in place to retain new hires is great, but does LCD have plans in place to increase retention of our current employees?
Great question. Yes. In any country, across any division, in any company, there's a labor shortage for a variety of different reasons. So if you have had to hire somebody in the past year or so, it's tough. And the easiest thing it is, you know, talent acquisition, right? No, it's all of our jobs. But to your point, more on the retention side, we need to re-recruit our current population, right? We don't want to lose anybody to another company, and it's a hot labor market. So I would encourage, you know, PMD season is, you know, this should be an ongoing thing and not just twice a year, but having those development discussions with your employees about, you know, where they want to go. So we are encouraging that through PMDs, also additional trainings that happen. And then always evaluating the marketplace with inflation and are we being competitive. So yes, there's ongoing things. I know Phil here locally is always looking and working with our total rewards to say, are we paying competitive? But then also, it doesn't always come down to pay. It's you know, how do we have that sense of belonging where people want to stay, feel included? So there's a variety of different kind of work streams that are going on at the same time, but great question.
So I started the questioning off and I'd like to finish it if that's okay. I have a question for Neil. Obviously you've had some great feedback from the leadership team. Two-part question, just to make it complex, right? The first one is, what does the future look like for Hisham as the site leader, and what help do you need from the leadership team to make that happen?
So I think after our walk around today, every department has a vision. We need to see the growth, or a steady growth, but also that investment. Today, obviously, the team have all got a vision. Each department wants the opportunity to be able to support that growth and be able to deliver the growth. We need that forward visibility on what's coming into us so we can plan. I know a hell of a lot of work's going on, working with supply chain and the other key functions to ensure that we've got that. But again, it is that collaboration between the leadership team and the operations teams to ensure that it is a working partnership. So again, you know, networking, making sure that we're talking. But one of the things that we're talking about is that connectivity where we're reaching out on Yammer, best practice sharing. And if we keep on driving that culture and that change, I think that, you know, we can keep on questioning the status quo and driving forward.
Part two, what do you need from us there, Neil? Put you on the spot.
Part two, at Hisham, at the moment, we're currently trialling concept. So again, I want to be able to demonstrate it with the teams that